Good morning, Teaserking family. How's everybody today? Hope you're well. What a huge day I had yesterday. Theoretically, I had four locks that won, but I took the Buffalo lock off because of the weather, which didn't make any issue. And so I played the Philadelphia under as a lock, which won. So my big lock was Coastal Carolina over with Georgia Southern, with Green Bay Giants under. Once I knew Winston was the quarterback, I said, well, I like Green Bay. They have to win, which they did. And I'd already played a -1. And then I'm sitting there with, I started thinking, well, what's the total? And it was 43. So there's no way they're going to get to 49 points with Winston. Micah Parsons, Green Bay can't score anyway. Seemed like a very obvious under, which it barely stayed under, but we'll take it. I think that's why we bet the teaser. So I was 33 unit lock. Coastal Carolina over. Georgia Southern's an over team. That was an easy one. It was 53, and we got to 85. We played a 45-40 game. Play it with the Packers, Giants under Winston. He didn't look terrible, but I'm thinking Green Bay's coaches are terrible. Their defense really sucked. You got to blitz these guys. They let them run around, and I mean, it's just terrible. Second lock's going to be Buffalo over with Baltimore. Baltimore had to win. Buffalo, Tampa over for sure. Then I read about the weather, and I go, shit, it's going to be 20-mile-an-hour winds, and and because they're stadiums, I don't think the passes, because they're on the ground, right, and the stadium's around it, I think it blocks a lot of the wind. So if it ain't pouring rain or something, I think we're okay. So they get another 75-point game. I was over 42 or something. I mean, it was over at halftime. So that was another easy winner, but I had locked it. But I unlocked it for anybody new. But if you initially had it, you would have locked it with Baltimore -1, which won. So now I'm looking for another lock to replace the Buffalo Tampa over 42 or whatever. And I find Philadelphia under. And I had stated the Lions against a good defense can't run. If they can't run, Goff sucks. Jalen Carter will get them. I didn't expect 16-9, but that's what I got. The Lions. Here's the problem when you go for it on fourth down all the time. They did a fake punt. Well, when the Lions go to punt, everybody assumes it's a fake. So that didn't work. Then they went on a 4th and 1 or 2. That didn't work. Then they went on a 4th down at the goal line. That didn't work. We're on to you. You can't 4th down Philadelphia. You can't 4th down Kansas City, Denver, San Diego. I mean, there's good defenses. Houston. I mean, because it's disrespectful. And if you 4th down them, they're going to make you eat it. And the only reason the 4th down is so high is the push-tush, right, for Philadelphia, which the Lions actually stopped once. And they actually called a motion on one I saw. So you have that. And so once you stop the Lions run, they're nothing. So this is the 4th game they lost. This is the 4th time they played a good defense. Green Bay, Minnesota, Kansas City, Philadelphia. They're going to lose to the Rams. I don't know if they play Seattle. They'll lose to them. They beat Baltimore because their defense isn't that good. Buffalo, I don't know if they play or not. And they got to play Green Bay again. And they got to play Minnesota again. They're in big trouble. They're going to have 8 or 9 losses. As I said, I think they would go. When they lost to Green Bay, they didn't look good. And I said, they might only win 8 games. They might go 8 and 9. And I'm sticking to that. Um, they lost the All-Pro center, Greg now, and you can't just plug in another center, right? It doesn't work like that. So it doesn't work like that with the center, right? So the center and the guards are terrible. The one guard, Mahogany, he's out. So now you got your third string guard in there. Neither of the guards you're impressed with. It's always been the two tackles in the center. Well, you got rid of the center. The other tackle's old. You need to replace him. And the other guy, I don't think he's all that. They never record when somebody sacks him who he's blocking. They never record it. Oh, he doesn't have a sack. Wait, the guy just sacked him. So your best player is your right tackle. You're in trouble in a league where you're not wanting the right tackle to be your best lineman. You want your left tackle. The Lions have big problems. They have no line. It doesn't matter what kind of running backs you have. If you don't have a line, you're not moving anywhere. And the quarterback doesn't have time to throw. And you play a team like Philly or Green Bay or Minnesota, Kansas City, Denver. We're lucky they don't have Denver. And that's what you have. So, they got to play the Rams. That's a loss. Stafford will eat them up. And like I said, I don't know about Seattle, but you got Green Bay, Minnesota again. That's 2 more losses. So that's at least 3 losses. You've already lost 4. That's 7. It's 10-7 at best, but I think they got another hard game. But even their easy games, the Bears, I don't get it. Just blitz Caleb. I don't understand the problem there. Just blitz them, and that's it. You can't see the way you stop a running quarterback is to blitz him. Lamar didn't do anything yesterday. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks on him. What was going on in that game? How that game was close is a joke. Lamar throws 2 interceptions, like one at their 15. Just fucking run the ball with Henry. I mean, this is where the coach at Baltimore sucks. You've got to art of war it. What's my strength? What's my weakness? My strength is Henry. My weakness is Lamar throwing. So stop throwing with Lamar when you get inside the 20. Just run Henry 4 times, you'll get a first down. So to sweat that game out, you got to be king. And then we win it on a push that the tight end deviates and runs around the end and scores a touchdown on it. It's insanity. It was a great play. Philadelphia should do that more often to make it not obvious that this is what we're going to do. And that's how we had to beat Cleveland. Wow. I mean, that's pretty sad. Baltimore is not good. Let's go through these games yesterday. It's just so strong. So we started off losing the Washington-Miami game only because I played the game over instead of playing Washington. I liked them both. I thought they'd score more because the Lions never stopped them. Twice at the 2-yard line, each team went for it on 4th down and didn't get it. If they both score, I win my over. So it's not like they couldn't get down there. San Diego, Jacksonville. I don't play it. Well, why don't we do the scores as we go? Real quick. So gold, 10 o'clock, 40-56. Silver, 50-88. This is a joke. Just ignore it. It's the demand's huge. This is apparently these are people who are trying to get us out of gold and silver. That we'll see it drop and we'll panic. We'll get emotional. We'll say, oh, shit, we got to get out of it before it goes down further. It's a joke. Just ignore it. It's not real. This is bullshit. It'll be bought up. Notice how it happens when the U.S. has it. Like I can see Trump. Oh, let's drop it so everybody will get scared. And they'll buy Bitcoin and they'll buy stable coins so we can collect tax on them and they'll 1099 them. Again, with gold, you can sell 10 Eagles. There's no tax on it because they will not 1099 you. Only if you sell over 24 Maple Leafs and Cougar Rams. So just sell 20 of them. No 1099, no tax. So the people that come to me and cry about taxes don't even understand the game they're playing. It's like going to the casino. You can win 10 grand at poker. You're not going to get a tax. And if they start, you just say, oh, well, I'll cash in 5 grand and then 5 grand. Only if like you win a World Series of Poker event, you're going to get 1099 at poker or slot machines or video poker. If you win more than 10,000, they'll 1099 you. But if you just do 5,000 and 5,000, they won't do anything. So you got to play the game. All right. Let me just send D my pick. So we found a very lucky green sweatshirt, I told you. And boy, was it lucky. All right. Let's run through the scores. So New England 27-24. Are they that good? The Jets suck. We all know that. Miami 16-13. That says it all. Miami sucks. Washington without Daniel sucks. The defense is weak. How this game ended 16-13. This is a fixed game, obviously. What a joke that is. Anything that's really weird is a fix. Jacksonville 35-6. So San Diego loses a couple weeks ago. Last week they beat Pitt. What was that score? They beat Pitt 25-10. And then they lose to Jacksonville 35-6. This is the problem. How do you predict? Well, you look at history. You look at what type of team they are. You look at matchups. You look at injuries, weather. How the fuck does San Diego score 6 points, 35-6 against Jacksonville? And Jacksonville basically ran a lot. Trevor Lawrence is terrible. He just runs a lot. You just blitz these teams. So Jacksonville, okay, give them credit. They got a win over Kansas City on a miracle. Here they got to get a win over San Diego, which makes no sense. One thing I will say, well, let me get to Kansas City and we'll talk about them. Pittsburgh wins 34-12. First winner, I go over 48, so that's 42. I get 46. How the hell do I get to 46? Cincinnati fumbles with under 2 minutes left, and Pittsburgh runs it in for a touchdown. He doesn't stop at the one. He goes in and gets the touchdown. This is not the way the game was supposed to go yesterday. Flacco didn't do anything. It was very windy in Pittsburgh. Green Bay 27-20. I had this two different ways. My first blush was Green Bay -1 as soon as I hear Winston playing. No, even before I heard Winston playing. I went with Green Bay -1. They had to win. They lost 2 in a row. It's the Giants. It's Micah Parsons. But then when I hear it's Winston and the total is 43, I said, where are they going to score? Winston's terrible. He's not going to score any. They'll probably shut him out. They'll win, 30-0 or something. But no way is it going to 49. Well, Winston gets a few touchdowns, and Green Bay, Micah Parsons is nowhere to be seen, and they win 27-20. So that's the big lock, mostly because of Winston, who didn't look too bad because Green Bay doesn't know how to coach. They didn't really blitz a lot. Next game, the Bears 19-17. I had no idea. Caleb against J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy, again, looks like shit. Couple of interceptions. All Caleb does is run. I still don't understand these teams, Minnesota, Buffalo against New England, where they don't blitz the quarterback. They let him run around and, find the open guys. Or in Caleb's, all he does is run. He can't pass. And I'm sorry, you don't spy the guy, you blitz the guy. You just put 5-6 guy blitz. He can't read it, and he doesn't know where to go with it. So, then they'll say how good Caleb is. What? Because he runs? I mean, this is the problem with the league, this running quarterback bullshit. Houston 16-13. This is my next winner because Houston's 25-3 in a teaser. Bet against Tennessee 23-3. So this was an easy one for Houston. However, I missed the lock of locks. This should have been the 30. This should have been a 50-star lock under. When you think about it, Tennessee, terrible, pretty good defense. Houston, I got to do a 5-gamer on Tennessee because I got them with a 29 defense. I think, and it's much better than that. But Houston Mills, what's he going to do? So you had 2 pretty good defenses and 2 terrible quarterbacks. Well, what's the rule? Bet it under. So I missed that one. It was 30. I think it was 37.5, 38.5. I probably could have got, and under 43, and that's why I didn't, because it was so low. But had I thought about it, and obviously after the game, this was a lock under, and I missed it, and I apologize. But I still had Houston, and it won, so half apology. All right. Buffalo 44-32. This should have been the lock. With Baltimore, a 76. The total was 46. I did play it over with Baltimore, but I didn't. I took the lock off. Now, we made it up because we played it with Philadelphia under, but we took the lock off because of the winds. So sometimes you overanalyze. I thought 20-mile-an-hour winds and some snow, and there was no snow. There might have been wind, but you couldn't tell. Josh Allen running doesn't matter about the wind. See, Buffalo, and the first question I'm asking myself, where was this against Miami? You got Miami even, and you don't score, and then you put up 44 on a good Tampa game after you had beaten Kansas City. And that's where I dare say they were flat, because they had just beat KC and they were looking ahead to Tampa, which is high school, not pros. So if you lose by a game, the number 1 seed, you can thank losing to Miami. Now, part of it is an old lesson I taught, which is be careful of the hope dog in a division game, which we had with Miami, which we had with Cleveland yesterday. Just because they're a bad team, they see the team twice. Buffalo and Miami play twice a year. Baltimore and Cleveland play twice a year. Baltimore and Cincinnati play twice a year. Cleveland plays Pitt twice a year. So you get used to them. You get pissed at them, and you throw out the records a little bit more. So even though Buffalo played Miami at Miami right after Kansas City, we have to be more prudent about those games, especially the division, especially as a road favorite. They're just not going to do it. We saw it yesterday with KC Denver. Division game, they see Mahomes a lot. If they kick a field goal, they beat them last year in Kansas City. They're laying 4 to Denver. Again, that should have been a lock with Houston under. I did play Denver in 10, but I should have been a higher play. So I'm getting in the zone right now. I lit it up this weekend. 30-unit lock, Coast Carolina over, Green Bay under, W. Baltimore, Buffalo, Philadelphia, locked. 3 more winners, 4 pro winners, and 1 and 2 in college. College, I lost to Virginia by 1 point. In Ohio State, I lost because they scored with a minute left instead of just taking the knee. They were up 40, but they got to cover the 33. So in order to cover, they had to score late, and then that put it over. So I can't believe Ohio State with the 7 defense is playing 50-point games. And they still can't beat Michigan, probably. All right, so Buffalo, after the loss at home, they're going to score. They did. We don't know what happened against Miami. It makes no sense. And then we have Tampa, who, with the Baker, they score a lot. They're an over team. So this was an easy lock. The only thing was it was off the lake and it was a little windy, and I was trying to be prudent. Carolina 30, Atlanta 27. I have no idea. I did not play this. Penix did play. Steve Young had a big day, I guess. Atlanta's got a terrible coach. That's all I can say. They got Penix, they got Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Pitts, the 2 defensive guys they drafted. What the hell are they losing to Carolina? Not once, but twice. Well, this at least was overtime. This line was Atlanta minus 3.5, 41.5. I don't know. Atlanta plays unders most of the time. Carolina, I have no idea who they are. They play a weak schedule. Again, this is a division game. I have no idea. I still have no idea about them and Jacksonville. A couple of these teams, I just don't know. The Niners, 41-22. I don't play this game. Purdy comes back. Look good. McCaffrey, Kittle, they're starting to get pieces back. I guess the receiver played. I don't know about the defense, but they seem to run a defensive system. So, Joe Blow could be out there, and they're going to be fine because they have the system of defense. And they have Salah back. So they should sign Salah to like a 5-year contract. But I don't think Salah will leave to coach anymore. I think he's learned his lesson, especially these guys that go to the Jets. You got to be nuts. So Frisco kills them 41-22 at Arizona. Now here it goes against the grain. What do we say? Division home dogs. You should probably take them. Not in this case. Frisco play against Arizona 8-1, 5-0 as a home dog. Well, that's not there anymore. Frisco really turned it on. Purdy must have had a huge day. All right, the only loser. This cost me a 10-team, $1,200 teaser. This was my only loser by a half point. How painful. The Rams 21, Seattle 19. Total on the game 48. I go over 42. I don't want to really bet against the Rams, but I do like Seattle as a live dog. It's a division game. But if it's a home dog, you take it, not necessarily the road dog. The Rams 24-4 in a teaser. Why didn't I just play that? I play the over. I'm going to show you my betting slip. Here's the betting slip. $80, you win 1,100, total 1,176. Baltimore minus 1.5, winner. Green Bay under 50.5, winner. Tampa Bay Buffalo over 39.5, winner. over 40.5 in the Ram game, and it ends fucking 40. And I have a chance at the end. The guy's kicking a 61-yard field goal, which these guys are making right and left. He pushes it a little to the right, or it gets over. Then we got Marshall, the free pick, winner. Over Arizona, Cincinnati, which I had, winner. North Texas, -9.5, winner. Texas Tech, 13.5, winner. The over in the Texas-Georgia game, 45, winner. And the over, obviously, in the Coastal Carolina-Georgia Southern game, 50. They put up 85. I hit every one but the fucking half a point. And I'm sitting there, and the Rams are 14-6, and Seattle keeps kicking field goals because Sam Darnold sucks. It's 21-12, and I know I'm screwed because they won't go for two. It makes no sense. If you're 21-18, why would you go for two and go 21-20? So you'd go for the extra point to go 21-19. You win with a field goal. And then I'm dying at the end going, I hope I get the chance. I hope they can drive down there, and they got the ball to two, and they're, guys throwing for 5-yard plays. And they get it to the 43, and I go, I got a chance, this will be a 60-yard field goal, which not a problem. I mean, he just pushes it to the right. If he hits that, and then Baltimore scored a touchdown to win, $1,200. I'm more pissed about the Ram game than anything else. And that was my only afternoon loser. So I lose with Washington over early. I hit everything. I hit 3 locks, and I got to put that. My thought was, why didn't I play Denver in that 10-team teaser instead of the Rams over? But I didn't think the Rams over was a bad bet. All right, Denver, 22-19 I have. Why couldn't it be 22-19 instead of 21-19? 22-19 Denver, home dog. That was an easy one. Now, let's talk about this. Kansas City is not that good, right? They lost again. Denver's very good, but I hear on these national shows they don't like Bo Nix. They don't like Denver. They're not that good. They talk them down. Denver is very good because I don't listen to those shows. I listen to myself and what I see. Bo Nix is an excellent quarterback. Denver's got a strong defense. See, I would have played this game under. What was the total? 44. Yeah, and this one went 41. Under 50. But that's where it is. You're laying away. Kansas City's not as strong as you think. I mean, they're struggling this year. Now, a lot of it is they played San Diego, and then they lost to Philly. They beat the Lions. They lost to Buffalo. Now they lost to Jacksonville. They're losing games they don't normally lose, even though they're good teams. And here's Denver, who's trying to beat them. Denver's got a big lead in the division. Denver's going to win the AFC West, as I told you. KC, I think their biggest problem is they've been to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. They tried for the 3-peat, right? Well, that drains you. Emotionally, you just can't get to that level. And the fact they didn't win, but they play extra games, right? You play your 17 games, and then you have at least 2 playoff games and the Super Bowl. So they're playing 20-game seasons 3 years in a row. And that takes its toll. And eventually you saw it with the Steelers in the 70s and even the Niners, although they should have 3-peated if it wasn't for Steve Young and Roger Craig fumbling against LT. Young should have kept the ball on a fake handoff to Roger Craig. and he fumbles. And then I don't even know. They probably should have just taken a knee and let the clock run and then punted because Phil Simms wasn't going to do anything, or Hostetler, whoever was in there. So they didn't recognize the best player on the field is Lawrence Taylor, and you ran into him instead of taking 3 knees, playing against the strength, punting the ball. Because if you take a knee, the clock's going to run, and that's what you wanted to do. Anyway, but that's what happens. You can't play these extra games and get up for the Super Bowls and get up all these playoff games. It's going to wear you out. It's like a battery. You eventually wear out. That's what I think KC's at right now. I mean, losing to Jacksonville, you've already lost to Philadelphia and San Diego. You can't afford to lose to a Jacksonville. So that you have to understand that this isn't last year's KC team, which was winning a lot of close games, or the last few years KC teams. You can't go to the championship game 5 years in a row. It's going to take its toll. Yes, Mahomes is great. We all know that. They lost a little defense. They never replaced Tyreek Hill. Pacheco was out. A little bit of injuries. Their offensive line, a little bit of injuries. They're just not the same team. And the schedule is brutal. Denver, Baltimore, Buffalo, Detroit, Philadelphia, San Diego twice, Denver twice. I mean, they just, it's just hard. So this is not Super Bowl winning Kansas City. It's still Mahomes. It's still good. We still take them anytime they're a dog. We would have taken them. They should have been a 3-point dog yesterday, but they weren't. So that's what you have. So be careful with KC and stop undervaluing Denver. This should have been my lock. Denver plus 10.5. It was a play, but it wasn't a lock. And I only played it once. I should have played it twice. And I should have played it with Buffalo. Well, Buffalo over was weather, but I should have played it with Houston under. So that was a bad miss. But that happens. Baltimore, 23-16. I had Baltimore winning 31-13. They win 23-16. Big wind. A lot of wind in that game off the lake, and I knew it was there, and I cringed. But, again, he was still able to throw. The pass that got intercepted hit the guy in the head and bounced up. Again, Lamar, what are you doing, man? Lamar's terrible to struggle the way he did in that game. Now they won, but they won because they did the push-tush with the tight end who rolled around, not because of Lamar. Lamar killed him. He did 2 or 3 picks. Yeah, I'm kind of keeping an eye on that game because it's our big lock. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? Anyway, they win despite Lamar against a shit Cleveland team. With Prime Jr. comes in because Gabriel gets a concussion, not because they wanted to. And he sucked. Again, he wants to run. There was a time in the game, there's about 2 minutes left, 2.5 minutes left, and he runs for 5 yards. And he, whatever, he gets first. And then he goes to midfield to celebrate. The clock's running, you idiot. You need to get to the line and get the game. You're down and the clock's running, and you go from the 30-yard line to the 50 to celebrate, to say yes. And you're like, not now, moron. What an idiot this guy is. So I don't see him if Gabriel's ready, but if you got it's as bad as Winston. If you got Prime Jr., yeah, you're betting against him. He's terrible. All right. And then the last game, the lock under 47. So the lock was under 53. I look at the score 16-6. And then it's 16-9. And I just loved it. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. Well, hopefully it'll stay lower scoring. I know Detroit's going to have problems against Philly's defense. Detroit brings a pretty good defense. Hurts pretty weak. Barkley not going to run for a lot. Seemed like a good defensive game. It was 10-7 with Green Bay, which I don't know if that translates, but I was hoping it would. But I felt Detroit wouldn't score in the game, and I was right. And it's 16-9. 25 we're under, so that was locked. Really lock number 4 for the day. So Green Bay Giant under with Winston, Buffalo over, the Baltimore -1, and Philly under. So I'm in the zone. I found 4 games, and as I discussed with you, Denver could have been a lock. Houston under could have been a lock. Pitt over, I could have played more, but that was kind of a fluky over. Carolina, Atlanta, who knows? The Niners, I didn't know Purdy was playing till I think Saturday, but I still probably wouldn't have bet him. The only mistake was the Seattle over versus the Rams, taking the Rams or Seattle. And that's it. Tonight, no play. I don't want anything to do with this game. Dallas at Oakland. We cannot trust Dak. Oakland stinks, but they're a home dog Monday night. Brock Bowers is back. My play on this game, my thought would be an over. Let's do Dallas 30, Oakland 17. That's my score. I'm not betting Dallas. I'm not betting the game. I just want to relax and just I hit 4 locks yesterday. I'm happy as shit. So this is what this tells you is, yes, your mindset is correct. You've been struggling to address the teams, right? Now they're there, and now we've got them. And we had the right matchups. Philly, Detroit, Baltimore, Cleveland, the Buffalo, Tampa over Green Bay and the Giants. And that didn't go the way it should have. It should have been a lot less scoring. But now we're getting, okay, the only team we really are struggling here is Jacksonville and San Diego. Which teams show up? Why are they so bad? Okay, maybe we bet San Diego after a loss. Washington and Miami, what the fuck's going on there? The Giants they don't have Scattaboo. They don't have Malik Neighbors. All of a sudden they don't really have running. They have no quarterback. And they put up 20 on Green Bay, who's supposed to be this great defense with Micah Parsons. Hello? The Bears in Minnesota. We have no idea. We know McCarthy stinks. Caleb just wants to run. But we really don't know those teams. I got the Bears with the 27 defense. McCarthy threw, 2-3 picks? Okay, those are questionable. We kind of know Houston and Tennessee have good defenses and no offense. Tampa and Buffalo, we know. We think we know Buffalo. And Carolina, Atlanta, we're still scratching our head. I mean, we just finished week 11, and we have no idea who Carolina or Atlanta are. We have no idea. All right, so that was yesterday. Nothing today. Beautiful week. College we talked about yesterday. I went 10-4 in college, and I don't know what I went, 9-2 in the pros. And what's been happening, like in college, my loss was the lot. Like I'm hitting everything, and then I lock Virginia, and I lose by a point. So that's two games I locked. I lost by a point, not a lock. Virginia was a lock, not the Rams. And then Ohio State scores at the end, which how can you not play them under with the 7 defense, which you're like, they gotta make sure they cover. So now the Ohio State, they're monkeying around. You gotta add in the point spread. Oh, wait, if it's an under, but it's close, they're gonna score to cover. Maybe we just bet Ohio State to cover because apparently they know what the spread is, and apparently they're going to cover the spread. All right. So I put in the line. Oh, what's this one? I wrote in my line for college for next week. We will go through that in a minute. It's funny when I look at Coastal Carolina, they don't have this great quarterback. They don't have anything, but they just score. The wide receivers threw 2 passes for touchdowns. Georgia Southern does have a very good quarterback, running back. I looked at the Missouri game and I said, did the quarterback play? No. What happened was the running back ran for 300 yards and like 5 touchdowns. So Mississippi State couldn't stop him. All right, let's look at week 12 in the NFL. As long as we're into the NFL. And we start with Buffalo at Houston. I'm not going to read the lines. I don't want to get skewed by that. Which Buffalo team shows up? This is a bad matchup because Houston with the killer defense against Buffalo with the killer offense. They'll neutralize each other. And now it's Buffalo's defense, which isn't good against. Now, if you still have Mills, they could barely score on Tennessee. So this is the kind of match. See, we had Buffalo and Tampa. It's a beautiful matchup. They're going to score a ton of points, which they did. That's why it was locked. But when you get to Buffalo and Houston, that's not the matchup we want. That's why some weeks are better than other weeks. It's the matchup. KC, Denver. We get Denver as a home dog. Baltimore, Cleveland. Baltimore has to win. Green Bay off of 2 losses gets the Giants. It was a perfect week. Here we start off with Buffalo, Houston, a very tough game, unless we get Houston favored, but I'm not going to go there yet. Okay, Sunday, there's no London game, so we go the NYJs, go to Baltimore. Now, this is not a division game, as they're not in the same division. Baltimore's got Pitt, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. The Jets, New England, Buffalo, and that. Now, Buffalo will probably be double digits in the way Lamar looks. Who knows? Maybe it's an over. I don't know what Baltimore is, but they have to win. And we got Indy KC, the game of the week. It's at KC. KC must win. KC is 5-5. They're dead. They cannot lose another game. I don't know how good Indy. This will tell us how good Indy is. I think they're going to get. I think Daniel Jones is in trouble. I think they can stop Taylor because Spagnuolo. This is not a good matchup for Indy here, especially at KC off of a loss. Seattle goes to Tennessee. This should be an under game as Seattle with a very good defense. Holding the Rams to 21 was good. Tennessee, Cam Ward's going to be in big trouble here. They're going to blitz the shit out of them. They won't score, but they appear to have a pretty decent defense. Minnesota goes to Green Bay. Jesus, I thought they just played. No, that was Minnesota and Chicago. Minnesota, Green Bay. A good defensive game. Neither team's got a quarterback. Jesus. Green Bay, they sucked yesterday. The Giants go to Detroit. Now here is where Detroit will slaughter them off of a loss, playing a weak defense. The Giants have the Giants supposedly have they have a 27 defense. They gave up 27 to Green Bay. How about that? Detroit will destroy them because they're playing a weak defense. And then everybody can say, look how good Detroit is. They beat a shit Washington team and a shit Bear team. And now they're playing a shit Giant team. Oh, wait, but when they played the good teams, they got killed by Green Bay, Minnesota, Kansas City, and now Philadelphia. So I think this is the way the league is. And I was saying this yesterday. It's almost 2 leagues. There's the Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Denver, the Rams. And then there's the New Orleans, Tennessee, Miami, the Jets, the Giants. And so you get bad numbers because when you're looking at the Jets, the Giants, they're playing the weak teams, so they look better than they are. And you got to find them against the better teams. We got to see the Jets and Buffalo. How did they play? Or now even New England. Very rarely are Buffalo and New England both good at the same time. Buffalo was great with Jim Kelly. Then New England had Tom Brady. Buffalo is nowhere to be seen. And now Buffalo's back. This is the first time they've both been good together. So, again, you have to look at the Giants against good teams. So they played 27-20 yesterday with Winston. Detroit's going to kill them because now they're off of the loss, and Detroit's 6-4, and they're looking at a 10-7 record at probably looking at a 9-8 record at best. So they're in trouble. So this is a game they have to win, and they're at home. Now, we did this 2 weeks ago when they had Minnesota and J.J. McCarthy back, and they couldn't win that game. Detroit's got an offensive line problem, offensive coordinator problem. The head coach is calling the plays, a defensive coordinator problem, a secondary problem. They are not the same team, and you can see it. They're losing. You can't ignore that they lose. Well, it was Philly, and it was Green Bay, and it was Kansas State. No, they're losing to good teams, and they're beating the bad teams. It doesn't make you a good team. But that's what they've been doing with Dan Campbell. The first year, they had a bunch of they lost the good game to the good teams, and then they had a bunch of bad teams at the end, and they did good. The second year, they beat a bunch of bad teams, and then last year, they didn't. They had an easy schedule, and then this year they have a tough schedule. And yeah, next year they'll have an easy schedule and they'll look great. New England goes to Cincinnati. Cincy's 3-7. So I don't understand this. If Joe Burrow is ready to play him. Well, no, we got to leave him out. We don't want him to get hurt if it's meaningless. No, that's not the way football works. You don't see, you don't see New Orleans take Kamara and Olave out because they're bad. You don't see the Jets take their players out, not that they have any. You don't take your players out and rest them because of fear of injury. That's where you get into this. This is where the baseball with the pitchers. And where does it get you? Nowhere. All I know is the Dodger pitcher pitched a complete game, and then the next day he pitched in relief. So don't tell me you can't do that or you need a fucking pitch count. All right, New England, Cincy. We're going to put in our own spreads. Pittsburgh plays Chicago. I'm thinking the Cubs are the White Sox. No. It's the Bears. Jacksonville goes to Arizona. And we have no idea in this game. Cleveland goes to Oakland. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is a bullshit game. Cleveland goes to Oakland. Both teams suck. How are you going to pick the game? We don't know who they are, and it's week 11. Oh, wait. It gets better. Atlanta goes to New Orleans. Philadelphia goes to Dallas. There we go. See, that's the type of game we want. We'll take Philly, lay one, and win. Tampa goes to the Rams. Ooh. Now, that is a very good game. Does that game go over? Probably. And Carolina plays the Niners. And not with Purdy back. Carolina doesn't want that. You're off teams. Denver, unfortunately, San Diego, Miami, and Washington. So we don't care about Miami and Washington. The only game we really miss here is Denver because we like betting on Denver because they're 11-0 this year. Let's make our lines, and then we'll read their lines. I got Buffalo -4 at Houston. Baltimore -10 against the Jets's. Indy, KC. KC's got to be a 4-point favorite at home. Seattle at Tennessee. Seattle -7. Minnesota, Green Bay -4. The Giants, Detroit -10. New England, Cincinnati, New England -10. Pitt, Chicago -3. Jacksonville, Arizona. I can't imagine making Jacksonville a road favorite, so I'm going to go Arizona -3. Cleveland goes to Oakland -3, especially if Prime Jr. is the quarterback. Atlanta, New Orleans, Atlanta -4. Philly at Dallas, Philly -7. Tampa at LA -3. And Carolina and the Niners minus, we'll go 6. So you see what we've done. We've made our own lines based on the matchups that we're seeing. Buffalo at Houston. Well, Buffalo should be favored. Now, what we're hoping is Houston's favored. What I did was make the game even. This is what the lines should be, but they're not. And here's where we get advantage when they fuck around with their crazy lines, the analog lines. So we'll look for weak favorites and dogs. So now Buffalo -4.5. I was dead on. 43.5. And this is tough because Houston with the killer defense, no offense. Buffalo with the killer offense and no defense. So it's about right. Baltimore up -14, 44.5. And right off the bat, I don't know that Baltimore can beat anybody by 14. Struggle with Cleveland. And just because they're at home doesn't mean anything. But they do need the game at 5-5. It's funny, they're 5-5. KC's 5-5. Jesus. Kansas City -4, 49.5. Just as I said, 4. Indy 49.5. Daniel Jones going to throw 3 picks in this game. I don't love Indy to be a dog here. I don't buy Indy is better than Kansas City at Kansas City. And KC needs the game, but it's hard because Indy's been playing well. Seattle, holy shit, -13, 41 to Tennessee. Now that is a gross misline. Seattle on the road should not be a 13-point favorite. Now, Tennessee's strong defense, Seattle with the strong defense, the total of 41 probably gets you an under in the game because Tennessee's not going to help. And, and then they have to win. They just lost to the Rams. So look for Seattle to play well, but it's a big number, and I don't like laying 7 in a teaser. Green Bay -7 and 42 to the Vikings. Problem is J.J. McCarthy. Your problem is Green Bay's defense going to show up? Minnesota. The problem with J.J. McCarthy, he throws 2-3 interceptions, and now your defense is in bad situation. So it's not a normal, they get the ball at the 20, and now I can go out and play defense. Detroit, right on, -10 and 50 to the Giants. The Giants will not slow up Detroit. Do you lay 4? Possibly. What do you do with the total with Giants? If it's Winston, I can't go over with Winston. Maybe with Dart because he runs, although I read that they're trying to make him less of a runner or to slide because he just doesn't slide. He thinks he's in college, thinks it's old Mississippi. New England -7, 50. Probably an over here. Do we take New England -1? This is the same as Indianapolis. We don't really know because of the weak schedules they've been playing that they're going to go at Cincinnati and win. And how the hell are they going to stop Chase? So we'll see. The Bears 45.5. I nailed that one. And I'm not trying to nail the spread. I'm not trying to predict what the spread's going to be. I'm kind of trying to predict what the spread should be. So the Bears at home should be favored. Here's where you have Pitt as a live dog, I think. A team like Pitt, who's a dog, the Bears are a weak favorite, right? Jacksonville minus 347.5 to Arizona. Again, I think here, Arizona, I think Jacksonville's a weak favorite at Arizona. I don't buy them. They're going to run. Arizona, pretty good defense normally, but they ran into the Niners and Purdy yesterday. But the Niners had to win the game. Jacksonville, they're 6-4. I don't know. Oakland is 3-37.5 to Cleveland. Good defense on Cleveland. That's about it, especially if it's Prime Jr. They won't score. Oh, he's so bad. Atlanta -1. I had 4-39. Another low total. New Orleans stinks. I'm not buying Atlanta. I really liked Atlanta if they were the dog in this game with Penix. New Orleans can't beat anybody, but Atlanta, I don't know. Total 30. I got to study more. Philadelphia. Here's our bitch. 4.5, 50.5. I had them by 7. They're only 4.5. Here's where my line gives us this game. They should be a 7-point favorite. Why would they only be 4.5? Dallas, not much of a defense. Philly is rolling now, 8-2. They come off a big win over Detroit. They won at KC. It's a division game with Dallas. Only 4.5. I think that's a low line. LA 749.5 over Tampa. That's a Tampa play. Tampa covered against Buffalo yesterday. That line was 6.5. So they lost by 12, getting 12.5 here. And that's why I played it over. I didn't want to fuck with the spread as much as I knew there'd be points. That's how I choose over-unders versus the lines. If I feel that the spread's going to, like, I could have played Coastal Carolina against Georgia Southern, but I knew it was going to be high scoring. So I went with the total versus the team. And that works most of the time. It didn't work with the Redskin-Miami game where I liked the Redskins and the over, and I went over. Should have went Redskins, of course. So the Rams, 749.5. The Rams are playing well, but so does Tampa, and they're good. And then the Niners are 747.5 to Carolina. And look for the Niners to start playing. So that is the line. So you can see why I make mine. The difference, Baltimore is 14, not 10. Seattle is 13, not 7. Green Bay is 7, not 4. New England is 7, not 10. God, all these spam calls. Arizona, I got 3. Jacksonville's 3. I like Arizona as a home dog there. Atlanta 4 is only 1. Philly 7 is only 4. The Rams 3 is 7. So that's really where I'll focus. And the better teams are more consistent. So we know what we're going to get in LA, Tampa. Do we have any idea what we're going to get with Cleveland, Oakland? Especially that's where then the quarterback comes in. Prime Jr., we're not betting on Prime Jr. We didn't bet on him in college, but we're not betting on him in the pros. He sucked yesterday. Prime Jr. But this is what makes it hard. We don't have data. They're throwing in a new quarterback on us. They're switching offensive coordinators on us. They switch coaches on us. There's injuries. A new quarterback comes in. This is what makes it difficult because, all right, Flacco, we know, but Prime Jr., we don't. We assume he sucks. We assume Dart sucks. We know Caleb sucks. Drake May, okay, he looks okay. So let's look at the New England game for the Jets. They went to New England and lost by 14. Now they go to Baltimore. Who's better, New England or Baltimore? New England, aren't they? So do we really trust Baltimore to handle 14? Do we trust Lamar not to throw 2 or 3 picks? Does the Jets have that defense and get the pressure that Myles Garrett does? Myles Garrett had 5 sacks yesterday. And that's Lamar going back to pass and having no clue who to throw the ball to and hope somebody gets open. Meanwhile, he's holding the ball 5 seconds. There was one that he rolled to his right, and here comes Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett has to run all the way over to get him. He had probably 5 seconds to get rid of the ball, and he didn't get rid of it. Or run. Don't just stand there with it. This is the NFL. You cannot stand more than 3 seconds with the ball. You will get hit, especially with a guy like Myles Garrett. So Lamar just totally lost out there. That's why I don't like him. He runs. He's not a good passer. He doesn't understand. Baltimore, Prime comes in, throws an interception. Baltimore's got the ball 1st and 10 at the 15 in a game that was either 16-13 or 16. It must have been 16-13. They're losing. And what does he do? He throws an interception. It hits somebody in the head and pops up, and it's intercepted. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? See, that Mahomes throws a touchdown. They score. With Mahomes, they score a touchdown. With Aaron Rodgers, they score a touchdown. Brady, a touchdown. Montana. All these great quarterbacks would take advantage of the play, but he doesn't. Caleb probably wouldn't either. J.J. McCarthy, no way. So that's what you really got to understand on him, because you should have taken the lead. Don't you know you were my lock laying one? Anyway, so we'll fill in the teaser trends. I got to update them. So I go to a spreadsheet, and it's home favorite, home dog, road favorite, road dog. We've discussed that before. And basically, I have to adjust. No, nothing. A play looks like right now Detroit off of the loss, New England beating Cincinnati, possibly a high-scoring game. Arizona looks like a live dog, but we got to check injuries. Philly, Dallas, probably an over. They played a high-scoring game week 1. Totals 50-44. Yeah, that should be over, or Philly. And the Rams, Tampa, probably Tampa as a live dog. Maybe we go over Frisco over Carolina. Again, how good is Carolina? And that we just don't know. All right. College, same thing. We put let's check our gold. Just because. Even though we know it's bullshit, it's paper. It's like checking the score on the Philadelphia-Detroit game. You know, really you just check it at the end. I mean, whatever's happening, it's not official till it's over. So why check? Well, I just want to see what the score was. And as it turned out, I turned it at I think it was around halftime, and it was 16-6 or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in good shape. And then I turned it on late in the game, and it was 16-6. And I go, oh, perfect. Then it went 16-9, and then there was 2-3 minutes left, and I go, there ain't no way we're getting to 52. I didn't understand that line either. Philly's strong defense. In score on Green Bay. So Philly gets 10 points on Green Bay, and the Giants with Winston put up 20 on them in a big wind. Good luck figuring this out. All right. Pardon me for eating, but it's my lunchtime. Let's check gold. It should be bumping back up, and it is. So silver 50.89, and gold, you can see after the 10 o'clock drop comes back up 40.74. We'll get back to 41. It doesn't matter. We'll be at 10,000 soon anyway. And the thing is that you're looking at is why the games. So it was 40.52, went up to 40.90, and it plays around back to 40.58. Now it's 40.74, going back to 4,100. What's all these dips? Who's controlling? Why are the options and derivatives controlling the price? Why is the paper market controlling the price? Why isn't the physical market controlling the price? And this is what pisses us off. However, since we know that the paper market is controlling the price, but we own physical, there's far less physical, and we know it's worth 10 times more, we just kind of laugh at it. I might hit my gold store this week just to say hi, see what's going on. It's tough losing a 10-team teaser, going 9-1, and the loss was by a half a point. Because had he got it at the right line, had he got it at 40, we would have pushed. So tie won't kill you. So then you go to a 9-team teaser. We still would have made a bunch of money. Anyway. All right, so let's look at, we're not going to go through every college game, but let's look at the bigger ones. So we'll do Tuesdays. They're MAC games, but what the heck. Ohio, I got 17 is 32. Yeah, I guess we can do it here. 32.51.5. I've updated my spreadsheet and I've updated my grades. I just haven't put the grades on the sheet. I'm going to do that this afternoon. 32 to UMass. Well, we know how bad UMass is. We know UMass is a Z team. We don't have to look. Akron Bowling Green. Bowling Green, I got 7 is 3.5. 47.5. Western 7. 38.5 to Northern Illinois. And then we got, we'll do Wednesdays too. Buffalo minus 2.5. 39.5. And Central minus 8. 47.5 to Kent State. So we got 5 MAC games Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know why anybody would play them. Ohio 32, but that's playing UMass, so that makes sense. Bowling Green, I had 7, 3.5. Western, I had Northern Illinois 4 over Western. Western is 7. I had Miami of Ohio 3 over Buffalo. Buffalo 2.5. Miami, Ohio is a live dog there. Central 7 over Kent State, and they're laying 4. No, they're laying 8. So that was about right. All right. I'm not going to play every, let's see, Friday, Florida State, 561.5. I had NC State minus 3. It's Florida State. It's a terrible team. And then the last game Friday, Vegas is 364.5 to Hawaii. There was a game we were looking at yesterday where the line was really bad. I think it was the USC game. I'm curious to see what that is. All right, Louisville, SMU. SMU minus 3.5, 53.5. I had SMU minus 7. They're at home. Ohio State, I have minus 30 is minus 30. Wow, I hit one. 56.5. Now, I don't know how Ohio State's 30 over Rutgers. I don't know how Ohio State's 30 over anybody. They're really not that strong of a team. They have a good defense, but they want to play offense. So I don't know. I'm not laying 30 here. Northwestern minus 4. I got minus 4, 40.5 to Minnesota. Oklahoma, I have 10 is minus 10, 42.5 to Missouri. Now, here's the problem with Missouri. The running back ran for 300 yards. You're not running for 300 yards on Oklahoma. They got the strong defense, and they steal the signs. So it's really tough. Now, Oklahoma, off the big win of Alabama, will they be flat? I don't think so. They're 8-2. They have to win for the playoff. They can't afford a loss to Missouri. If Missouri had their quarterback, I would think, yeah, they can beat them. But with the backup quarterback, they're just going to hand the ball to the guy. It'll be a tough one. Miami minus 16, 48.5 to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech stinks. Let's go. Kansas and Iowa State. We got Iowa State minus 4.5, 55. I have Iowa State minus 3 at home. Kansas could be a live dog here. Georgia, Charlotte. I had Georgia minus 40. They're minus 45. 54 total. Charlotte is a Z team. They get blown out by Florida Atlantics. Georgia after the big win against Texas, but they start showing an offense. They might cover this 45. But again, you get into the fourth quarter like Tennessee, and then they don't play their players. They don't try. They got a 40-point lead, and that's where you run into trouble. You need a coach that wants to cover. Ohio State would cover this. Baylor, Arizona. Oh, that's Baylor here. Arizona minus 7, and it is minus 7. 62.5. Probably goes over. It's Baylor. James Madison, I got 17 over Washington State's minus 14. 42.5. James Madison, the A-team. Washington State's not very good. Alabama gets Eastern Illinois. What kind of crap is that? Nevada, every time I see Wolfpack, I think of Hangover. Now we're Nevada, Wyoming. Wyoming 7 and 41.5. They usually play low-scoring games. Mercer gets Auburn. I think Alabama-Auburn is Thanksgiving weekend. Marshall, App State. Marshall -3, -3, 54.5. UConn, Florida Atlantic. UConn's a 7-point favorite, 66. I have Florida Atlantic as a 7-point favorite at home. South Florida, UAB. South Florida -21 and 69. I had South Florida -10. Yeah, it's a big number. They're coming off a loss. Southern Miss, South Alabama. Where are you hiding on me? Southern Miss -3. Southern Miss quarterback was out. I didn't know that until I looked at the box score, wondered why they didn't score, and I realized it's a different name at quarterback. So I don't know if he's still out or how serious the injury is. Notre Dame, Syracuse. I got Notre Dame -28, -35, and this is because who's going to take Syracuse? Everybody's going to bet Notre Dame at home. Again, Jesus, Lou Holtz will be there. 35-51, probably an over game. Notre Dame's just going to light it up. 35, big number, but Syracuse stinks. Arkansas, Texas. I have Texas -11, Texas -10, 56. Arkansas lights it up. Texas, their defense, they gave up Georgia, got 35 points on them. This is not a normal Texas team. How they beat Oklahoma, I don't know. If they played again, I think Oklahoma would win. But Texas laying 10, that seems like a big number to Arkansas, who is explosive. And this is a rivalry game. Kentucky and Vandy, we got Daggio laying 10. That's exactly what it is, and 53.5. Kentucky does not give you help offensively. They're not a good defense. Go Vandy. They're 8-2. They need the game. USC, Oregon. Yeah, this is the game. Oregon -10 and 59.5. And I like USC getting all those points. I think it was higher yesterday. I think it was like 14.5 or something that I was going to bet it. And I should listen to the replay. Iowa, Michigan State. Iowa -16.5, 43.5. To Michigan State. Michigan State's terrible. Iowa's very good at home, 43.5. Probably doesn't get there. Good game here. East Car and UTSA. No, where the hell are they? I hate when they move it because of the time. Oh, it's up here. Okay. East Car -3, 61. I had East Car -7. UTSA score a little bit, and they don't. East Car's a good team. Probably an over because we got UTSA. Duke, North Carolina. Duke -7, and that's exactly what it is, 51.5. I don't know what happened to Duke last week. They only scored 17. They normally score much more. So I was against Virginia. I don't have a killer defense. Tulane and Temple. Tulane minus 8.5. 55.5. I love how this game's at 3:45, not at 3:30. What the fuck? So Tulane 8.5. I had Temple favored. Tulane's good team. Temple, Michigan and Maryland. $4 Michigan minus 13.5, 45.5. Maryland has stopped scoring. The quarterback's still there, but he's not doing anything. Michigan, they have to keep winning. They play Ohio State in 2 weeks, but they got 2 losses. Ohio State doesn't have any, but Michigan, I mean, they'll just ground you out. Georgia State and Troy. Troy is minus 11, 51.5. But I'll tell you, Troy's not the team I'm going to play against Georgia State. They're not that big of an offensive team. Oak State, UCF. UCF minus 14, 48. UCF, they're not that scoring of a team, and Oak State stinks. Kansas State, Utah. Good luck, Kansas State. It's against $4. Utah minus 16.5. See, they screw me up. They put the schedule down with no times, and then they time everything, and then they mix up the schedule by putting it in time order instead of leaving it alone. So Utah minus 16.5, 52. I had Utah minus 17. Kansas State. That's a goodie. TCU in Houston. Could be anywhere in this mix. Right here. Houston minus 3, 55.5. I think TCU is a live dog there. Coastal Carolina goes to South Carolina. Be careful with Coastal Carolina here. South Carolina minus 23.5, 53.5. They're almost making Coastal Carolina a live play here. 23.5. It's a game you can't play them because they're playing, and I don't know why in the world they're playing South Carolina. Doesn't really make sense this time of year. South Carolina did come alive against A&M. You got to be careful here. Texas State minus 18, 55 to Lou Monroe, who stinks. Nebraska, Penn State minus 10, 44.5. All of a sudden, Penn State's playing better. Nebraska doesn't have the quarterback. They did play UCLA well. I don't know. Did Penn State get good? Pittsburgh and my Georgia Tech minus 3, Georgia Tech minus 3, 62. Georgia Tech, they keep winning. That's probably good. Boise and Colorado State. God knows we're there. Here it is. Boise minus 17, 45.5. To Colorado State. I think Colorado State sucks. Air Force, New Mexico. Here's our bitch. If we can find them. I got Air Force 3 New Mexico's -3. But here's where we got it, 57.5. We know Air Force changed. Vegas doesn't. And it's still New Mexico, who I don't think scores that much. This will be a strong underplay. North Texas and Rice. North Texas, excellent team, -18, 55. Rice is pretty decent. Tennessee and Florida. Tennessee -7. Tennessee -3.5. 57.5. That's a low number. I got Tennessee -7. The game's at Florida. Cal Stanford, the band game. Cal -3 and 50. Illinois, Wisconsin. Illinois -10. 41.5. Western Kentucky, LSU. LSU -21. 50. I don't know. Well, LSU's a pretty good defensive team. Western Kentucky hasn't been scoring. I think the line's kind of high, 21. BYU, Cincinnati. BYU -3 and 53.5. I have BYU -10. They're much better than Cincinnati. Arizona State against Prime. He must have cried when Prime Jr. got in the game and threw 5 interceptions. All right, Arizona State, Colorado, where are you? I don't know. There they are. But how did they get from up there to down there? Arizona State -7.5, 49, but their quarterback's out. Pretty good defense. San Jose State, San Diego State. San Diego State -11.5, 49.5. I got off San Jose State and their offense pretty fast. Utah State, Fresno State -3, 51.5. Washington, UCLA, Washington -10, 52 at UCLA, and that's it. I guess I did go through all the games, but it's fun once you get going. So UNLV, Hawaii, could be a dog game. SMU, Louisville, SMU the better team. Ohio State laying 30 to Rutgers and 56.5. All I can say is if Ohio State's up 27 and they need a touchdown with a minute left, they're going to score it, and it might screw your total. Not sure. Oklahoma 10 over Missouri. They just beat Alabama. Good defense. Missouri, a pretty good team. Again, their running back ran for 300 yards last week. It's not going to run for 300 against Missouri, against Oklahoma, where Mississippi State does not have the defense that Oklahoma has. And their quarterback really is the backup, so we're not sure there. Miami 16-48 to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech stinks. Georgia 45 over Charlotte. Again, it's a hard cover because they'll get up, they'll put up 45, 50 points. Maybe they cover. But as fixed as it is, they can easily win by 42. BYU 3 over Cincinnati, I think, is low. BYU's a very good team. They pounded somebody last week. Who did they pound last week? They pounded TCU 44-13. The game's at Cincinnati, but BYU's just a very strong team. Where's my Texas Tech? I don't see them. That's what I hate. I don't have Texas Tech to play on this week, and some of the other teams we like playing. Although we do get Vandy back. Utah 16.5 over K-State, doable. North Texas 18 over Rice. Arizona 7 over Baylor, but it's Baylor. Iowa State 4.5 over Kansas. Kansas. Jalen Daniels he's like 25-1 touchdowns, interceptions. The Kansas quarterback. Let's see. Washington 10 over UCLA. You know, it's hard for UCLA. They played Ohio State. What did you expect? But they had the backup in. The volleyball player had a concussion, so we'll see if he's back. And Washington doesn't have to travel to the East Coast. This is still on the West Coast. Arizona State over Colorado. Now their backup quarterbacks and Colorado stinks. 7 and 49.5. East Car, Texas, UTSA, very good game there. East Car 3, 61. Toledo 8.5, 55 against Temple. Toledo's a very good team, but Temple's not bad. Let's see. UConn 7 over Florida Atlantic. That could be doable there. That could be a live dog. I got to get to the next level. Southern Miss 354. I got to check their quarterback. Notre Dame 35-51. Look for Notre Dame to just pound them. It's probably the last home game. Syracuse stinks. No quarterback. Notre Dame knows they have to win by 50 to make sure they get into the playoff. So probably a Notre Dame at 35 is probably good. Texas 10 against Arkansas. Texas's defense does not look good. I mean, Georgia lit them up for 35. Missouri, Mississippi lit them up. And Vandy lit them up. So won't be out of line for Arkansas to put up a good 30 points here. Let me mark that as an over. Vandy 10 over Kentucky. Go Vandy. USC, Oregon. Oregon 10, 59.5. Live dog, live over, I think. USC will score. Oregon, we know, can score. We have to determine which is the better play. Iowa 16.5, 43.5 to Michigan State. Duke 7, 51 to North Carolina. This is a rivalry. Michigan 13.5, 45.5 to Maryland. Troy gets Georgia State, but I don't trust Troy. UCF, Oak State, the Z team. Our Coastal plays South Carolina, unfortunately, 23.5. I mean, it's just a guess if you play Coastal Carolina in 29. I want to play them against the Z team or in a Georgia Southern case. This is not a game, and it's not against the Z team. South Carolina's okay. They should have beat A&M. So now is not the time to play Coastal. On the other hand, Texas State, Lumon's the Z team. That's what you're looking for. New Mexico Air Force, total 57.5. That's an under. As we discovered, Air Force changed. This probably should be 47. So we're getting a free 10 points here. Georgia Tech 3 against Pitt, 62 total. Tennessee 3.5 over Florida, and pretty big rivalry game there. Not as big as the Kentucky or the Georgia or the Alabama, 57.5. And Illinois 10 over Wisconsin. Again, it's on the road. It's Wisconsin, who stinks, but they're at home, and that makes all the difference. So that is college football look for next week. I'll have to fill in the grades, but most of the grades I know already. I see them so often, and they don't change much from now. The only change is when I look at the last 5 games, and I catch a Coastal Carolina as an over, not an under. Teams like that, but that's why I do it. Anyway, where we're at. All right. So that's football for next week. Very hot week last week. And I'm just now I just read you the games. I knew most of the teams over, under, AZs already. So I have less to do. Now it's more go through the 5 and see in conference, mostly Sun Belts and Max and things like that. We know Michigan, Ohio State, Purdue. We see them, USC, Washington, Alabama. I mean, we're watching the games. We see the players. We know what's going on there. All right. We've been watching Vegas a lot lately, but it's really markets. So what's really happening is any market, well, gold 40.80, silver back to 51. Here we go. So it's just a big game. It dips, and then they buy the options, and they settle for gold, and they don't have it. So that's why this is ending. So Alligator had his show, a little show on. We'll watch some of that. We looked at Mark McGuire, his class, and it said that it's all the same thing we talk about. You got to understand, we're talking physical gold and silver, not paper. We're talking COMEX, which is paper. Why we ignore it? Because it's diluted. There's too much there. They're printing options with the 1,000,000 ounces of gold, and there isn't 1,000,000 ounces. Well, I mean, there's 1,000,000 ounces, but they'll do 1,000,000,000 ounces, and there's not that much like gold and silver around. And then people want to claim it. China comes in and says, we want to take delivery of the gold that you don't have. And that's coming to an end. So you have that. Markets, Vegas, too expensive. I talked about that yesterday, where Vegas, if you go to a Mercedes dealership, he has cars that if you want a $100,000 Mercedes or a $30,000 Mercedes, he's sitting there allowing multiple markets. I mean, let's look at restaurants. You have McDonald's, which is the economy, the family of 4 trying to eat cheap. You have your nicer restaurants, the barbecue, the Chinese, that are the step up. And then you have your Capitol Grill and your Morton Steakhouse and your Mike Ditka Steakhouse and your Walter Payton Steakhouse and every bear that's ever played steakhouse. And that's what you have. Different levels. There's different markets. But for a hotel like Vegas, there is multiple markets hitting the Bellagio, or the Wynn or Caesars or the Tuscany. You don't want to exclude anybody because even though some people aren't billionaires or trillionaires, they still come and they still eat and they still drink and they still bet on football and they just do it at a lower level. But those are the people you want. You want them shopping. You want them tipping your dealers. You want them doing all this stuff. And it's just amazing the excuses you're getting from the CEOs. Well, we don't want the riffraff here. We just want the whales. We don't want poor people. We just want rich people. That is the dumbest thing. That guy should be fired on the spot for having these thoughts. Clearly means he doesn't know what he's talking about. In any business, and I bring up our ice cream business, or if we're selling tennis shoes, or we're selling sweatshirts or glasses or phones, you don't want to exclude anybody. Teaser King, I don't want to exclude anybody. I don't care if there's a whale coming in who buys Rolexes. If he wants to buy my picks for $100, fine. I don't know who the buyer of my picks, their background or their income, nor do I care. That's their business, not mine. My business is that if we make an agreement, you fulfill it. Unlike that one guy who doesn't want to fulfill his agreement. But most people do, or just buy the pack you want and go with it. Stop fucking around and playing games. Oh, can I pay you $25 a week for the rest of my life? I don't have the money. Oh, but I just lost $700 on a game that I don't have money for. Oh, okay. Thanks for playing. I appreciate that. But I don't care. I want as many people, if they're smart enough to buy my picks and take advantage and win, then that's fine. But what I don't want is to ever say, I only want rich guys here. I don't want people who have no money. And even people with who appear to have less money, who I trust, but I don't know if that's real. And I give you a little discount. Okay, yeah, okay, we can do this. I can work with you a little bit. Because you want customers, you want money. So why would Vegas say we only want whales? We make more. If we charge more, we make more. That's bullshit. There's quantity times price. So if the quantity is 100 and the price is 10 to make it easy for me, that's $1,000. So I can raise my price to 100, but I'm not going to get the same 100 people. I'm only going to get, I got to hope I get 10. So what Vegas is doing, the quantity is 100, the price is 10, is saying, okay, we're going to want the price of 100, but we're going to assume we still get the same 100 quantity, which you're not. And that quantity is falling, and you got to hope you get 10 people for $100 instead of 100 people for 10. The problem is I want the 100 to eat, drink, and shop and play slot machines and stay in my hotel. I don't want 10 people. So yes, I can charge 100 and get 10, and it's the same as 100 as 100 people and $10, 10 people and $100. But I make a lot more money with the 100 people at $10 than I do 10 people at 100. Why they can't understand that is beyond me. It shows you how stupid they are. These are not bright people running these hotels. Same thing with the $100 blackjack. Well, I can have $10 blackjack, or I can have $100 blackjack. Well, with $10 blackjack, I'll get 100 players. With the $100 blackjack, I got to get 10, which I probably can't. Well, we want whales. No, you want regular, because the more people, then it takes advantage of the other things, the eating, the drinking, the shopping, the slot machines. It may be $2 blackjack if you're smart enough to have that. There's no benefit in making everything $100 and only getting 10 people in. And if you're just going after whales, believe me, the whales aren't coming either because they want comps and you're not comping, and they don't want to pay $50 for a hamburger. That's a bunch of bullshit. The more money people have, the more they're stringent with it. They don't want to give it up. And that's a big factor here. They don't want to start giving up their money. They'll give it up properly. If it's a nice coat they want, and it might supposed to be 500, maybe it's 700. Well, okay, but I'm getting a nice coat that I really wanted and I really couldn't find. Okay, that I'll buy. Or a nice pair of shoes or something. You get good value for it, they'll do it. But when you're charging them for a hamburger $50, they're not idiots. Bobby's told us that too, and he's a millionaire or a gazillionaire. He's going to be much richer when the gold and silver goes up. But that's what you want. That would be the fair trade, but not for that. So nobody wants a $50 hamburger and all these charges and the resort fees and the parking fees. So everything they're doing is making that 100 people go down to 10, but it's going down to like 2. But then you lose all the other amenities, the shopping, the eating, the drinking, the slot machines, and the small roulette. And, your pricing, there's no advantage of having $100 blackjack over $10 blackjack. It's a huge disadvantage. And then to get rid of the dealers for AI is ridiculous because nobody's going to play because we know it's all computerized and you've got it fixed. So we're not going to win with a live dealer. Now, the live dealer can be fake and the live dealer can cheat, but it's not in their best interest because they get tips. So the tips keep them letting you win and tipping them, right? But that's what you have. But you want a lot of people. The dealer wants you to win and tip her, but she wants 5 people at her table. So she wants a $5 table. There's absolutely no advantage at all to having a $100 table. You're not getting more per unit or per person. That kind of thinking is bullshit. Well, we get higher room rates. That kind of shit is bullshit because you're not talking the peripheral stuff. Okay, you get more for the room and you get more for the resort fee and you get more for the parking. But what you lose is the quantity goes to zero. Are you that stupid? Whoever's running it, that you've never had a business where you want a lot of people. I've never heard of anybody who wants less customers than more. And when you raise prices, you get less customers. I could make my football $1,000 a week instead of 100, and I'd get nobody. I mean, I might get one, but I wouldn't be happy if instead of getting 10 guys at 100, I get one guy at 1,000. I'd rather get the 10 guys at 100. And you want customer satisfaction. And maybe they tell 2 friends. Professor's really good, da-da-da-da-da. And I get that a lot. I pick up tips that I don't even know who these people are. I've never heard. They're not in class. They're not anywhere. Joe Smith. I don't know who he is. I just got $200 because I just made him 10 grand on the weekend picking my 4 locks. And that happens. But if I'm 1,000, nobody tells anybody, and I don't get it. So this is where it makes no sense. Again, it's Ferrari versus Toyota. Okay, you might sell Ferrari, you get more, the sale per car is obviously higher than Toyota, but you have, how many sales do you have? 10 a year, 20 a year, let's say 100 a year, $500,000 Ferrari versus 100,000 Toyotas, or probably a lot higher than that. Then they kind of come in for service and an oil change and, all the peripheral stuff, the slot machines, the food, the drink, the betting on the football, the playing poker. You bring your wife, she shops, you got to eat. all this stuff that you want people to come in, and they're not smart enough. This sounds like AI is not smart enough to really come in and figure out what they're doing. Making more per person, making more per room. $100 blackjack. Well, we make more per person, but what they're not telling you, but there's only 5 people instead of 1,000 at the $5 table. Plus, at $100 table, you'd have nobody there. Nobody's eating or drinking there. Nobody's shopping there. They're all across the street at the cheaper one, at the Tuscany, at downtown, at the what are the lucky lady or the guy with the cigarette. So there's more people there, right? So I don't know any business that wants less people than more, including Ferrari. I took a friend to a Ferrari dealership, and we got a shirt and she got a hat, and we took pictures. I took Carmen to a Ferrari dealership, and she was modeling there, and I would take pictures next to the Ferrari, and she loved it because she's a model. She takes pictures. And that's the difference. Now, we didn't buy a Ferrari, but we still went in and still bought a shirt and a hat and whatever. I took her to a Harley dealer near Cedar Point, and she got a hat and a purse. And, it's the peripherals. Not that we bought a Harley. I don't drive motorcycles, but it's that secondary thing that you're getting. But when you keep everybody out, you don't sell it all. So you're trying to say, well, if we charge like $1,000 for a room, we'll get less people, but per person we'll make more. No, you won't, because of the other areas, right? And so you never charge for parking. You never charge this hidden cost for the rooms, this hidden cost for food and drink. Where's your shopping? It's all a joke. You killed the forum shops, because who's there to shop and eat? And at Caesars, so you're really killing yourself with these stupid with the stupid extra pricing. I don't know where it comes from, and I don't know these people how they can be this stupid and agree to it and empty the strip and the Sphere. Now the Sphere, 2.3 billion, is broke, and they're losing their ass. And again, it's they need people to go to it, right? Even though it is expensive, they need it. Cirque du Soleil, they're hurting because who's there to go to the shows? And so you end up, the cab drivers get hurt, the littler restaurants get hurt, the stores get it. Nobody shops, nobody gets Caesar's Palace T-shirts. I used to get those all the time. So nobody's there. You take all the traffic away. Do you want it empty? Well, we just want whales. Okay, the man who said that might be the stupidest man in America. Again, well, I just want it per person, per room. Where are you getting that from? That's like inflation is year over year. That's not true. Inflation is 2% year over year. No, it isn't. Inflation's about 50,000%. It's funny. I'm listening to Alligator and this Bill Holter and Andy Scheckman, and you can tell they're listening, because they're now going back to 1971 to measure inflation, which is money printing, which they never said before. And I'm the only one that says it. So, yeah, thanks for giving me credit, fellas. Go fuck yourselves, okay? So let's listen to a little Alligator.
Alcohol replacements. Here's the real winner and why. This makes you gain weight, messes with your sleep, and leaves you...
Nobody cares.
...survival. For a system.
It had got to the point, I think, where the shorts, the establishment shorts, pulling back trading desks and so on and so forth, could see that the markets were vulnerable to a shakeout. So they shook it out. And I mean, amongst my Substack subscribers, I know of some who were shaken out, despite me saying, "Look, for goodness' sake, don't trade this because you'll get slaughtered." The other problem is of course, problems in the derivative sector. I mean, what we are seeing basically is, derivatives and precious metals have lost, if you like, the pricing power to control the value of the underlying metal, which has been the system deliberately, really, since the 1980s.
Something snapped in the silver market, and it wasn't a glitch, and it wasn't a coincidence. It was intentional. According to Alasdair MacLeod, one of the few people who actually understands how the monetary engine works beneath the surface, someone pulled the lever, and a manufactured silver bloodbath hit without warning. The price didn't fall because fundamentals changed. It didn't fall because demand weakened. It fell because the big short players, the powerful banking desks who've controlled precious metal pricing through derivatives for 40 years, finally panicked. They saw something forming in the charts, rising pressure, rising demand, falling inventories, and realized they were losing control. So they did the only thing they know how to do. They triggered fear, they triggered confusion, they triggered a sell-off that wasn't meant to hurt the market. It was meant to hurt you. But here's what nobody outside the insider circles understands. This wasn't a normal shakeout. It happened right as global central banks are buying gold at record speed, right as silver inventories reach multi-year lows, and right as China accelerates the most important monetary shift since Bretton Woods. This wasn't a...
So they're trying to short into the middle of the highest demand ever for gold and silver, is what he's trying to say. And the shakeout, basically, they're just trying to get the price lower so they can buy it. There's no shakeout. So when you see that drop at 10 o'clock, it's so they can buy it cheaper. That's all that is. And it went down a lot. But again, it's really not a shakeout. And that's why I say we only care about physical. Don't be selling it because this happened. It's not crashing. It's all bullshit. It's all derivatives. It's all options. And that's what I keep trying to tell you. It's got nothing to do. You shouldn't be profit taking. What he says shakeout, he means people sold their physical because it's dropping is ridiculous. You don't sell your physical at all, ever, unless you just like want to go on a vacation or you have a bill. But if you have 100 ounces, you're going to hold 95 of them. You might sell a few for, your girlfriend or your kids or a vacation or something. But basically, I don't know if they were trying to scare people into selling, which doesn't make a lot of sense because it's apples and oranges. If the derivative market goes down, there isn't any there. Okay, maybe some people sell, but that's physical. And what do they sell? If I go to my store and I sell 5 ounces, are they going to go to the store and buy it? Come on. It's the banks doing options and derivatives. Maybe they're trying to get you into Bitcoin or into the stock market. That could be, but we all know that's suicide there. You want to stay in physical gold and silver and out of the paper markets. So that's kind of what happened. So some people might have sold some gold. You do not profit take this and you do not sell it because the price goes down. The price goes down so they can buy it cheaper. That's all that is happening. It's all bullshit. It's all a game.
About price. This was about survival for a system that's running out of time. And today, we're breaking down exactly what MacLeod says is happening, what it means for gold and silver, and why this moment might be the last warning before the world enters a new monetary era.
That is going now. And so we are going to be seeing, I think, a collapse, if you like, in the precious metals derivatives system. And that'll spread into other things like other commodities, energy, other metals like copper and so on. So this is a very interesting time, if you like. So this.
What the fuck?
So this is a very interesting. So this is this is a very interesting time, if you like. So there's two things. I think, you've got systemic risk globally within the banking system. And I mean, to some extent, other jurisdictions, G7 jurisdictions, or even jurisdictions which are not in the G7, if they're tempted to bail in as opposed to bail out the bank, then they're going to create an awful mess. I mean, that could be a real crisis. So we've got very difficult times ahead, Patrick, and I think it would be very foolish to ignore them.
Yeah, completely agree with what you just said there. You mentioned how we may be coming to the end of the fiat system. Gold derivatives pretty much are going to all get in trouble. But where do we go from there after that fiat system? Are we really
Go
looking
to a gold
at
back system?
going back to
Kind of stupid questions.
Precious metals backing?
Well, eventually, yes. I think, you're in Singapore, so you're probably closer to the real story than we are. But it is clear that China is preparing herself to protect the yuan against a Western fiat currency collapse. This is why it has opened vaults in Hong Kong and also opening vaults in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, and will also have gold to yuan exchange facilities throughout the ASEAN trading bloc, also BRICS, and also the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. In other words, China is preparing itself to back the yuan with gold, at least for
survival food.
It already
has been
is.
one thing since 1975.
Seriously?
Cardboard taste and stuff.
trade settlement purposes. I don't think they would extend this to citizens, as
Why not?
was the case under the British gold standard in the 19th century. I think they're looking at a sort of, if you like, a modified Bretton Woods system centering on the yuan. And that's the way they're going. The only thing we don't know is that roughly what the exchange rate will be. At the moment, it's floating, but it will be fixed. It will be fixed
It'll be
because
floating.
the dollar's purchasing power over the next change radically in a downward direction. And the same for all the other currencies.
If they're already lost 99% of its value, and in my case, I think it's 100, where's it going down to? It's at 99 or 100. There is no more to go down. So he keeps thinking it's not the gold going up, it's the dollar going down. The dollar's gone. The dollar has no value. So what do you mean gold's going up because the dollar's going down? The dollar's done. You can't say it lost 99% of its value and then say, oh, it's losing value. It's lost its value. It's got nothing left.
So
Alligator.
G7 is not looking good at all. It really is. All those currencies are looking very, very vulnerable to
They're all over
what's
printed.
ahead in 2026 and 2027.
What do you attribute this pullback to? Was it just, let's say, profit taking or something else going on?
Nobody takes profit.
There's
It's
a bit of
paper.
profit taking, but not hugely. It had got to the point, I think, where the shorts, the establishment shorts, bullion bank trading desks, and so on and so forth, could see that the markets were vulnerable to a shakeout. So they shook it out. And, amongst my Substack subscribers, I know of some who were shaken out, despite me saying, look, for goodness sake, don't trade this because you'll get slaughtered. Just stack. And, I'm glad to say the vast majority of them do that. But one or two of them on the edge have really got caught. And I don't know when they'll get back in because they're thinking like investors. This is not an investment story. This is a protection story. It's not a question of trying to, accumulate wealth. It's a question of protecting wealth. That is the key to understand.
This is a double. You take 500,000 out of the bank in worthless dollars and you buy gold with it. So that's protection, because if you held it in dollars, stocks, bonds, real estate trust, it'd be worthless. But you're also making money because the gold has been so undervalued with these derivatives and options that the real price of gold is not $4,000. So it's getting to its real price, which is somewhere in the 2025. So yes, on that hand, I don't know if you'd call it an investment, but it's getting to its real value. So it's a double. The 500,000 is at zero now, and then you switch it for gold, and then that is going up to its real value. So you're getting a double hit here. So he's a little slow.
Really, what is going on, and and how you should react to what is going on. Protect wealth, and protecting wealth basically means getting into real money and getting out of credit. Just get out of credit as much as you can. The ups and downs in the market then become completely irrelevant. That's the way to look at it. But it was interesting that this shakeout has actually occurred at a time when gold and silver were not overbought at all. Look, if you look at indicators like mechanical indicators, like the relative strength indicators, that it was overbought. But if you look at actually what was happening in the market, like open interest in these contracts, the open interest was sort of slightly below the average, which tells us that speculative activity is not that great. So the shakeout wasn't going to really shake out an awful lot of stale bulls, or bulls, if you like. That just didn't happen at all. It's interesting that the first sign of metals recovering from this sudden shakeout, you've got people getting back on board quite quickly in COMEX. The open interest in COMEX yesterday on provisional figures jumped something like, 12, 15,000 contracts. So you can see that there's an awful lot of people thinking, oh, we made a mistake. if you see what I mean. This is not an overbought market. It's a market which has been rising on the establishment being squeezed all of a sudden, because nobody really in the investment management field has actually owns gold or silver. The level of exposure, just looking at ETFs and making a few assumptions about bullion, level of exposure is about 0.5% of all portfolios. This is not excessive. But the problem in terms of liquidity is that people are beginning to realize that the performance of gold and silver is knocking the magnificent 7 tech stocks into a cocked hat. They're in the wrong things, so they're going to have to move out of those stocks into gold and silver, just purely on demand for performance basis. But the problem there is to increase average exposure by 1%. Only 1% in gold involves the purchase of 25,000 tons. So how does this get resolved? The answer is it only gets resolved at far, far higher prices. Now, that's an investment management analysis.
McLeod says the drop was deliberate, a forced shakeout. Open interest was low, speculative activity was moderate, yet prices kept climbing. That's the exact environment where the big shorts get nervous. They triggered the crash to flush out the weak hands, hoping retail would run away before noticing what was happening behind the curtain. But the price dip didn't reflect the real market. Underneath it, the physical market is screaming tightness.
Do not let them increase your home insurance rates. I used to feel powerless watching my
See, but
physical market is screaming.
That's why I keep saying
silver
we're buying physical, not paper. So there's two markets, paper and physical, and we ignore the paper market. Why it's priced in paper instead of physical is what we take advantage of. $50 silver is a joke. In the physical world, it's 500 to 1,000, not 50. In the paper world, it's bullshit. So that's why we kind of use the paper price to buy the physical dirt cheap. And that's why it's just the sale of the century. You just keep buying. And eventually the paper market blows up because they need physical. When China buys these drops, When they short, China's buying them and asking for delivery, which they don't have. So it's the end of COMEX. It's done very soon. Then we go to a physical market, which is going to be run by China and Russia, and we'll see what we get for the real price of gold, the physical price, and that's what we're waiting for. The fact that China, is going to hold silver or only release it, who cares? If you want to buy it, we're not going to China to buy it. We're going to our store here to buy it. And there'll still be dealers you can buy it from here, SD Bullion and all these other ones. All right, back to alligator.
Inventories in London and COMEX continue collapsing. Premiums for physical bars and coins are rising again. Silver lease rates are spiking, a classic sign of shortage. Solar and industrial demand is hitting record highs.
Who cares?
This is why other major analysts are sounding alarms too. Andy Scheckman says nations are fleeing the dollar system and turning toward gold settlement.
Oh,
Rapid
thanks,
Farmer
Andy. We
warns
didn't
the
know
West
that.
is running out of physical silver,
See, I
while
don't like
Asia
these
drains
idiots.
supply every single month. Bill Holter and John Rubino argue the leverage in the derivative system is so bloated that one big failure to deliver.
I don't like
will
this
take the
part
entire
where we're bringing in
paper market down.
idiots to
Michael
tell us
Oliver
stuff.
says gold and silver have already broken their long-term momentum ceilings, something the public won't understand.
Means to secure the value of these currencies. Now, what that basically means is you've got to tie it to gold. There's no other option. But, if you look at the American situation, they spent the last 54 years denying that gold is part of the monetary system and that it has been replaced by the dollar. They are all intellectuals, sort of macroeconomic, Keynesian or monetarist intellectuals who actually don't understand economics in the classical sense, which is the only sense that really matters. And so, how does the whole system, if you like, which is based on fallacy, turn around? It's not going to turn around.
This is why I stress I'm an Austrian economics, classical economist, not a Keynesian. Because Keynesians, and whenever you hear the term a macroeconomic run, there's no such thing. Those are Keynesians. Those are communist government-run stuff. They don't know anything. They know that you need gold because you can't print it. They don't understand inflation. It's prices year over year. Who the fuck says that? Nobody agrees with that. It's not. You go back to 71, and it's not really prices. It's how much money you printed. And then because you've devalued the money, it takes more dollars to go buy a can of tuna at Kroger's because the money's worthless, not because tuna raised the price. They are raising their price, but it's really because the dollar's not worth anything. That's why in the 1970s, blueberries were 10 cents a thing, and now they're $5 for a thing. So the whole thing is because of the Keynesians, who are basically communists, which is basically socialist, same thing.
Quickly, and of course, the problem is that, when you've got a fiat currency, things are driven by politics. And when they get driven by politics, effectively, central bankers are powerless to take the right action. They're not getting the right advice from all the PhDs they employ. And not only that, but they wouldn't be allowed to take the right actions by their lords and masters, who, I know all this stuff about central banks being independent, don't believe it. At the end of the day, they are political appointees, and their lords and masters are the politicians. And the politicians basically cannot step in and sort things out. I mean, the only way they do that is basically when their currencies lose all their value. And so what's that mean? It means that, the dollar goes down to zero. It's, there could come a point along there where, there's enough of a mandate from the public for President Trump, if he's still in office, to actually authorize the correct action to fix the value of the dollar to gold, to turn things around. But the man's a spendthrift. He's got to turn around completely. And he's not a person who accepts blame for things easily. He's not a man who says, oh, I got it wrong. we have got to get this right. No, he's a man who basically, like Captain Carpenter in the poem by, I can't remember who it was, an American poet, you just battle on until he's dead. I mean, and so we can begin to sympathize, if you like, with Rudolf Havenstein, who was the head of the Reichsbank in Germany in the early 1920s. There is no option. There is no option. So we know where this is going. You just got to look and understand. That's where we're going. It's the end of the fiat currency system. The end of the fiat currency system basically tells us that it ends with fiat currencies being completely worthless. It's a process that can be stopped, but I just cannot see that there is the political will, the political mandate, and the intellectual understanding of the advisors to actually stop it. So I assume it's going down to zero until I know otherwise.
So here's the truth. No one on television will say out loud, this wasn't just a sell-off. It was a stress test, a warning siren, a crack in the facade of a financial system that's losing control of the metals it needs to suppress. The fight is no longer about charts or moving averages. This is about power. This is about currency survival. This is about whether the next global monetary system will be built on debt or on gold. If this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes, make sure you subscribe right.
Oh, yeah, we're all running to subscribe. So basically, the moral of the story is the only thing that wins is gold and silver. And I don't care that silver is a metal used for solar panels and Tomahawk missiles. Silver is money. I ignore that whole they need it for Tomahawks. No, it's money, just like gold is money. The reason they don't use gold, it's too expensive. And they're not going to keep the silver price down. So COMEX has lost the pricing, and now they're just trying to sell these contracts. They're trying to lower it so they can get out of their stupid positions, because this is basically a bunch of bankers trying to make money shorting something that they have no idea, because they're idiots, that the demand for gold and silver are so high that you'll never get the price down. You should be on the other end trying to buy it, not keep shorting it at 10 o'clock. What the fuck is that? So China will come out with the physical gold market, which is how we've not had a gold market ever is just ridiculous. And it's Nazi Germany, it's England, France, Rome, everything else where you print the money to death. And that happens every time. It's really got nothing to do with this debt to equity ratio or any of that shit. Oh, it's 150. That's all bullshit. That doesn't mean anything. Quit printing the money. The money's worthless. That's what everything's about. You've printed the money to zero, to death. That's the problem, not the debt to equity ratio or whatever that 120, 150% ratio is. It's got nothing to do with anything. It's just you keep printing the money to zero. You spend more money than you bring in, so you keep printing to cover what you got, and it just you keep printing to pay, keep printing to pay, until the money's just not worth anything. So all the government workers, it looks like the government shutdown came back. So I asked my friend who's in the DOD, well, are you getting paid for all the time you missed or what? He's waiting to hear. It's just a nightmare. And why are the air traffic controllers government employees and not employees of a company? Why isn't a company doing it? Just like roads, you don't need the government doing it. This should be a private company should be doing the air traffic controllers and TSA and all this other crap. Anyway, so that's where we're at. And so when you see COMEX drop at 10 o'clock, again, we just laugh. It's just a buying opportunity. Do not profit take. This is not a profit take scenario. This is not stock. This is not Apple or Amazon where you should be, when it goes up, sell, and then go into another stock. There's no other stock. This is gold and silver, and that's it. And as gold and silver go to a real physical price, it'll be 10 times the price that you see in COMEX. Because COMEX shorts the price down, but not physical. The demand for physical is huge. So why would the price go down? The only time prices go down is when there's no demand. electric cars and all this other bullshit that you see at the stores. $5 for a 2-liter Coke. Yeah, I can't imagine why nobody's buying it at $5. I don't know why. If you go to a gas station, get like a Diet Verner's or a Diet Dr. Pepper or something, and you get the 20-ounce bottle. It's like $2.50. It's like, who's stupid enough to buy that? Just get the 2-liter, put it in your fridge. I mean, it's ridiculous. Anyway, we got Thanksgiving, not this Thursday, but the Thursday after. So that'll be interesting. Always a good football weekend. And I'm going to update my football right now as I got to put in my grades. And then I got to go through the last 6 to see what's the real grade of the team. And that's how I'm finding the Coastal Carolinas, the Georgia Southerns, the Marshalls, and getting away from the Georgia States and stuff like that. So my goal is to find the Georgia States and bet against them, and to find these teams that are scoring a lot that we don't think are, or the Air Force change from over to under, and take advantage of that. So that's what I'd be studying. Anyway, a fabulous week. 4-0 on my locks yesterday, and only had one loser. The Rams by a half a point cost me a 10-team teaser, and I lost the early game. It was a very small bet with Washington, Miami over, and these idiot coaches. Oh, it's 4th and 2 at the 3-yard line. Let's go for it. It's just, okay, fine, go for it. At least run a play that works. These guys don't even run a play that works. They run a stupid play. I mean, if you're going to go for it, you have to have a play that you know will work. They don't even know the team's strength and weakness. They're just running it blind. Let's run up the middle, and they stop it. And you're like, are you fucking clueless what you're doing? I'm beginning to wonder that. Anyway, so we'll see. We'll look for teams off of a loss. Buffalo came back, but we had the game over. Now you got Detroit off of a loss. You got Kansas City off of a loss, playing Indy, which will be a good game. And that's it. So, again, buy your gold and silver. Let's see where we're at right now. And we got silver, basically 51 an ounce. And gold, it was 40.90 or 40.80, back to 40.72. Again, this is just game playing. It's just so we can buy it, but don't get emotional in this. Gold at 40.74, it already kicked up. Don't get emotional. Just sit back and let it go. Like we did at 3,500. We just waited and boom, jumped to 4,000. It'll jump to 4,500. It's middle of November. We should have been at 5,000 by the end of the year, but the way the games are being played and the way they're using COMEX, probably AI and analytics are going, oh, and it goes here, sell, and all these analytics. It's just all bullshit. It's not human, and that's why everybody who doesn't know what they're doing loses, because they panic. Oh my God, it's going down. I got to sell. No, buy, you idiots, because this is that. Not that you're idiots. Buy because it's going to go up, because this isn't a real drop. It's not like there's no demand. So the key is, if you have demand, you buy. If there's no demand, the price would go down. But if there is demand and it's very, very limited, price goes up. This price hasn't even gone up yet. All right. I think that's it. Questions, comments? Quiet day on the comment side. www.teaserking.com. We're really cooking, so we should have a big week next week. Once I get into the zone, forget about it. I'll run the table, all the way, because now I figured out the team. So, we'll bet Air Force under, we'll bet Georgia State against Georgia State, The list goes on and on. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. Be safe. Be happy. Buy your gold and buy your silver, more importantly. www.teaserking.com.